Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the channel, and I am here for a collection video for you guys. Now, someone recently wanted me to redo my Metallica collection. So, I thought about it and I was like, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. Considering that the other Metallica collection video I did a long time ago was very successful. That video has like a few thousand views or something like that. So thank you guys for the support on that video. And if we can do the same with this one, that'd be great too. So I'm going to be showing off what I have in terms of CD and vinyl, not merch or shirts or anything, but I do have a lot of Metallica shirts, to be honest, probably more than any other band shirt that I have. And I think that's because Metallica shirts are pretty easy to find in stores. I think every metalhead has at least one or two Metallica shirts, and if you don't, of course, definitely get one. But this is just going to be focusing on the CD and vinyl. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and begin with the vinyl. Now keep in mind, I'm not the biggest collector when it comes to vinyl. I only have a few vinyls in my collection and a few Metallica records on vinyl. So yeah, I'll go ahead and show you what I got though. First up, we got Ride the Lightning, which is my personal favorite Metallica album. Yeah, definitely a great album. Definitely a Metalhead Essential album, and it's definitely worth checking out. I believe this was my first Metallica album on vinyl, so yeah, definitely a classic. Next up, we got Master of Puppets, another solid album. Another album I would say is essential for metalheads. Yeah, definitely a great album and a classic. And the other Metallica album I have on vinyl is their latest album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. It's a decent album. The album doesn't have the best replay value, but I still think it's a good album for what it is, and it's definitely their best album in years. I mean, maybe since Load. I know that might be a little unpopular, but it is what it is. But yeah, this is a decent album. Now on to the CDs that I have from Metallica. First up, we got their debut, Kill 'Em All. Definitely a classic, really good debut. I mean, a lot of great stuff on here. I mean, you got Seek and Destroy, which is one of their biggest songs on this album. So yeah, good album. One of their best, no, but still a very good album. Once again, we got my favorite Metallica album, Ride the Lightning. I think every song on here is just excellent. I mean, but some of my favorites would have to be the title track, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, and Creeping Death. These are great tracks, but yeah, Ride the Lightning, I mean, definitely a masterpiece of a metal album. Next we got Master of Puppets, which is of course another one of their best. Yeah, definitely a great album for sure. Some of my favorites would have to be Battery, the title track, and Leper Messiah. These are great tracks, but yeah, definitely a classic. I did want to show you, let's see if I still have it. Yep. Had it on this shelf over there. I have the repressing of Master of Puppets. I believe this is an anniversary edition. It's a 3-disc set. So I can show you what that looks like. I did an unboxing for this a while back, so if you haven't seen that and would like to check that out, of course go search for that on my channel. That's what it looks like. You get 3 discs. So again, Master of Puppets. Next we got Garage Days. This is actually the repressing of Garage Days. I'm kind of hoping that they eventually repress all of the Garage Days albums, since they're not the easiest to come across, and anytime you do come across them, they're like crazy expensive. I would like to get the rest of the Garage Days EPs, but yeah, this is, I believe, the repressing. Yeah, good stuff here. Definitely a really good EP. I mean, again, I hope that they eventually repress the other Garage Days EPs. And then we got And Justice for All, which is another one of their best. Definitely a solid album. Probably their proggiest album. I know Metallica is in thrash metal, but this is definitely their most proggy album. Some of my favorites would have to be Blackened, the title track, One, Harvester of Sorrow, and The Frayed Ends of Sanity. I mean, these are great tracks, but yeah, definitely a great album. And then we got the self-titled Black Album. Of course, one of the biggest heavy metal records of all time. I mean, if you're a metalhead, haven't heard this album yet, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to check out this album. I mean, because given how successful and how big this album is, yeah, it's definitely a great album. A bit overrated, but still really good album. Some of my favorites would have to be Sad But True, The Unforgiven, and The Struggle Within, which I think is kind of underrated. No, Enter Sandman is not one of my favorites, even though that is one of their biggest songs. I think that song is overrated, to be honest. Now, is it a bad song? No, but again, I think it's overrated. But yeah, the Black Album, good album. I just don't think it's one of their best. And then we got Load, which I think is kind of an underrated album. I know a lot of people like to say that this is when Metallica really dropped off, but I think this album is actually really good. I mean, sure, it's different, you know, they definitely took a different approach, a different route with this album, but I still think it's really good. I mean, for what it is. I mean, you got 2x4, The House That Jack Built, Until It Sleeps, King Nothing, Bleeding Me. I mean, these are great tracks, but yeah, Load, it's a good album, kind of overlooked in a way. And then we got Reload. Now, I'll be honest, this is one of my least favorite Metallica albums. Not nearly as good as Load, in my opinion, but still, I think it's a decent album. I mean, you got Fuel, which is pretty good. The Unforgiven Part 2. Yeah, and Where the Wild Things Are, I think, is pretty good. But yeah, Reload, not one of their best, but I think it's decent. And then we got Garage Incorporated. This has, I believe, a compilation of all the Garage Days stuff. Yeah, really good covers album right here. Not much to say about it, but definitely an essential to own in your collection if you're a Metallica fan. And then we got Metallica's live album, S&M, which is actually a really solid live album. It has Metallica playing with an orchestra. You know, just hearing them redoing these songs with the, you know, orchestral elements, it's really neat to hear. So yeah, really good stuff here. And then we got Saint Anger, which I know a lot of people like to say is their weakest album, which I would agree, besides Lulu, which I don't have in my collection, by the way. Probably never will own that album, but yeah, this album, it's definitely not one of their best, but I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. I mean, if I had to pick out my favorite song on here, it would have to be The Unnamed Feeling, which I think is actually a really good track. But this album also has songs like Shoot Me Again and All Within My Hands, which are just some of their worst songs ever written. I mean, that's without a doubt. But Saint Anger, not as bad as some people make it out to be, but it is definitely not one of their best. That I would agree with. So next up, we got Death Magnetic. Now, I'll be honest, there was a time where I really dig this album, but over time, it's grown to be one of my least favorite Metallica albums. This album doesn't really do much for me nowadays. I mean, the production is awful. I know a lot of people complain about the production, and yeah, the production is not that great. But this album, you know, it's not all bad. I mean, you got songs like All Nightmare Long, which is maybe my favorite song on the album, but I don't know. This album seems like that they tried to go back to their roots a little bit on this album. Kind of doesn't work, but it's a decent album, but it's far from one of their best. And then we got Beyond Magnetic, which is an EP, which I believe features B-sides from Death Magnetic that were like, that never made it to the album or whatever. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that, but you can let me know in the comments. But this EP is actually pretty good. I mean, I think it's maybe even better than the Death Magnetic album. I know that a lot of people say that as well. Yeah, this is a pretty good EP. I mean, not much to complain about it. I mean, so yeah, Beyond Magnetic. And next up, we got Metallica Through the Never, which is a live album. So yeah, I believe this was based on a film. I could be wrong, but I believe that it was some kind of film that they did. But yeah, pretty good live album. I mean, if you're into collecting live albums, definitely get this. So Through the Never. Lastly, for this collection, we got Hardwired to Self-Destruct on CD. This is just the regular edition that just comes with the 2 discs. I didn't get the one with the 3rd disc. I often thought about getting that version, but I don't know. Not the biggest fan of this album either. Now, I do think it's better than Death Magnetic, and certainly better than Saint Anger, but I don't know. This album, well, it doesn't reach the heights of their classic albums, you know? But still a decent album. I mean, some of my favorites would have to be Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, and Spit Out the Bone. These are good songs, but yeah, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my updated Metallica collection. Let me know what you guys think. What all do you have from Metallica in terms of CD and vinyl? Feel free to let me know in the comments. And what do you think of my updated collection? So, with that being said, thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.